you want a fast, killer 85mm lens that won't put you in the poor ass? Well, stick around because you must check this one out. This is the lens which I've used most extensively by some margin. That is not part of my normal autofocus R-mount lens collection. It helps that it is in near mint condition as well. Since buying it, I've taken it with me on a couple of excursions, used it in 1 or 2 paying jobs, and you'll see why I like it so much. Before we have a look at some of my results, let's quickly just chat about the specs of this lens. It was introduced in 1979 and it was manufactured in Japan. It is the last manual incarnation of a Canon 35mm format 85mm f1.8 lens, and its production was only ceased in 1992. You'll notice that mine has the code U401, which tells me my copy was produced in April 1980 Japan. If you want to know how I know that, check out my video on dating FD lenses. I'll link it below. Prior to the NFD, the Canon 85mm f1.8 SSC with a breech lock mount was the current model, and that one was introduced in 1974. What type of lens is this? It's a manual moderate telephoto for the 35mm format or full frame. Optics. The focal length is 85mm, the lens coating is a super spectra coating. Lens construction, it's 6 elements in 4 groups. Minimum focusing distance is 0.85 meters. The aperture, it has 8 diaphragm blades. The aperture range is f1.8 to f22 in half-stop increments. It does have an aperture mode switch, The focus throw is about 180 degrees. The mount is the FD bayonet mount. Filter size is 52mm, it weighs 345 grams, the dimensions is 63 by 53 millimeters. Construction is metal, plastic, and obviously glass. Original price was 43,000 yen, which at the time was $173, and today you're looking to pay between $150 and $280. Those are the prices I've seen. Well, I used this lens for a couple of walk-arounds, some personal things, excursions I did, and even on some jobs. Stellenbosch is also known as the City of Oaks. Ironic, since oak trees are not indigenous to South Africa. The 85mm does give you some telephoto and it does create a little bit of compression. It also allows a little bit of space between you and the subject. This little cafe always reminds me of a Parisian sidewalk cafe, and as I was framing up the horizontal landscape, this lady walked past and I thought it was going to look great in black and white, and indeed it does, a real Parisian vibe. Stellenbosch is the second oldest town in South Africa after Cape Town, but it is also a university town, so there's a lot of youthful energy there. At f1.8, it is still possible to shoot urban sort of
landscapey type things. At 1.8, 85mm really separates subjects nicely from the surroundings. Generally, I would think for the type of photography I do in the street, something a little bit wider, but I was definitely enjoying the 85mm, except for that shot. Not crazy about that. So that is Cape Dutch architecture. It is really characteristic to traditional architecture in the Western Cape, but those gables are really the signature or the telltale sign that it's Cape Dutch. I must be dead honest, I'm definitely not feeling it today. I mean, it's beautiful in Stellenbosch. Light, lovely. It's very contrasted, but it's beautiful. But I believe in like really working it until it works. I just don't have the time today. I'm in Dylan Lewis's sculpture garden in Stellenbosch. It is absolutely gloriously beautiful here. And I have my 85mm 1.8, the FD, but also have a polarizing filter on it and just having some fun. For those of us who are really into flare, well, here we go. We can see nice blue and purple flare balls. Also that starburst, that's created by the branches and the leaves, I believe. But really a lovely gradiated haze we get here as we're shooting into the sun, but not too low contrast. I'm actually surprised at the contrast. Love that bokeh. It's actually almost seems to swirl. The lens hangs on to really fine detail remarkably well, so the resolution on this lens is definitely a plus for me. There's good contrast with this lens. Colors are not particularly undersaturated, but it's definitely not a new modern lens. The lens generally holds on to highlights well, but where you have like bright white spots, adjacent to that you're going to see some ghosting, as in this picture at 120%, just to make it clear. Also, sometimes at 1.8 it almost appears as if there might be blooming, but I think that might have more to do with lighting situations, because in other images at 1.8 it is remarkably sharp again. As with most manual old lenses, there is some focus breathing, but in this lens it's actually very well controlled. The sharpness of this lens is really, in my opinion, very good. This lens is really not hard to focus manually and really is a pleasure to work with, in fact. Also, no sign of vignetting on this lens. If there is, it's basically negligible. If you shoot into bright light with any lens, you are going to be looking for some trouble. So we do see a little bit of fringing there, but that is completely understandable, especially with the older lens. And finally, yes, 85mm is a great portrait focal length. It really it works well with people's features, the amount of compression. It really just works as a portrait lens.
I'm quite chuffed with this lens. It is light, it's small, and it fits into my backpack. Even with a FDR converter attached, it's not too big. It plays well with CPL filters. By using the 52 to 82 millimeter step-up ring, I'm able to use it with all my usual filters, and especially the NDs that one so often uses for video. Using it with a Smallrig mini follow focus also worked well, but I will be investing in a seamless focus gearing specifically for this lens, and I'll probably get for my other lenses as well. This being a small lens, when you use that Smallrig resizable focus gearing, it's just too big and cumbersome, and it really inhibits your focus throw. The focus handling on this lens is great. It has a smooth action, but there's a bit of firm resistance, which I like. Finding focus with this lens was not hard, even obviously wide open when you're focusing, and yeah, it was great. Using focus peaking or a focus guide on your mirrorless camera is advised and really does help. The colors, contrast and saturation is really what you'd expect from an N FD vintage Canon lens, but with a less clinical image than modern lenses. Yet it's not so avant-garde like maybe some of your Jupiters or Russian lenses, that it's actually only seldom useful for professional work. It naturally also works great on a Canon film camera like the AE1. It's completely at home there. I've shot some images with it on my film camera, but unfortunately I have not processed those films yet. But needless to say, the lens worked as you would expect it would. I'm always a bit loath for making dramatic statements, but I can say with a fair amount of certainty that this is the best FD lens I have tested so far. It might be because this is such a mint condition copy, but I do love this one. I love wide angles, but at the same time the 100 to 300 was surprisingly good. But in terms of simple enjoyment, this lens, at least for now, is my favorite FD. Please check out some of the other FD lenses that I've reviewed, and really thank you so much for staying till the end. I'll link some links down below so you can maybe get one of these for yourself. It will be affiliate links, so I will be compensated by the seller should you decide to buy one. Thanks so much for checking this out, and consider subscribing and all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next video.